Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. As you know, this series of talks are as part of the Creative Child Project, which is an investigation on participation and inclusion of children from different backgrounds in creative activities in Ireland. The project is funded by IRC and sponsored by Creative Ireland programme. And tonight we have Jenny Siung, Head of Education in Chester Beatty, talking us through Chester Beatty Library and the way that it can enhance children's creativity in the context. Thank you so much, Jenny, for joining us, and I will pass over to you to start.
Thank you very much, Sahara. I call you Dr. Farahani and Dr. Hennessy. It's really, really nice to be here, and I'm really happy to be able to meet all of you. Although I can't see you, it's really nice to be here. I don't get to talk in the evening that much because I suppose when working in the Chester Beatty, it's more of a 9 to 5 type of job. And I'm not too sure if the audience here has been to the Chester Beatty, but it is a national cultural institution based in the heart of Dublin. And, you know, it's a museum that has been in the location of Dublin Castle since 2000. It reopened to the public in February 2000, and it moved from Shrewsbury Road, which is in the suburbs of County Dublin, and it was bequeathed by Sir Alfred Chester Beatty, an American mining engineer, and he was born in 1875, so he himself was a migrant to Ireland in 1955, but he had quite an interesting history in terms of his own life story. He was a mining engineer, so he was basically physically mining, but he developed that silicosis, which is kind of a disease of the lungs. And he was advised by his doctors to quit the physical mining and stay in dry, warm climates to try and give, I suppose, healing to his lungs. But he himself became a businessman and invested in mining itself, in minerals. And he quickly built up his own wealth. And, you know, being a man of wealth, he settled in London in 1912. He had a house called Baroda House near Kensington Gardens. I think it's near the Embassy of Saudi Arabia, I think, I'm very sure. So he's in a really salubrious environment, and he's surrounded by, I suppose, society in London, and was collecting his own private collection of rare books, mostly rare books, as far as Southeast and East Asia, the Middle East, and North Africa. He was, as I said, he was a shrewd businessman, and he was in competition, I suppose, with his peers like the Gettys, the big Getty family in the States, who were, you know, if you think about, if you're collecting and you're looking for the best to add to your collection, you're in competition with other collectors. I don't know if any of you heard, there was a teddy bear that was over 100 years old and sold for £3,000 today. So, you know, there are people who are vying each other to buy the best or the most unusual or the quirkiest things for their collections. He also was a friend of Sir Winston Churchill. So he's a man of the time. He lent towards the war effort in World War II by helping the British government in developing their ammunitions. But when Churchill fell from power, the Labour government in the UK came to power, and they started, I suppose, applying duties on his private collection that he was collecting with him and his wife. His wife was an avid collector of European paintings, Chester Beatty rare books. And he moved to Dublin in 1955 with this fantastic collection, which he left to the Irish people on his death in 1968. And there is a board of trustees and funding from the Irish government to help, I suppose, the people of Ireland, I should say, enjoy the collection. So for those of you who haven't been there, it's a rare collection that exists within an Irish context. I was just having a quick chat with Sahara and Ailish before the chat or the talk today. I myself come from a migrant background. My father is West Indian, my mother is Irish. We migrated here in the mid-70s. and I grew up in an Irish school system, and I could never find my own identity in the Irish curriculum or in an Irish museum until I came to the Chester Beatty. I found things in this collection that I could identify with, not in the other museums, but with the Chester Beatty for sure. I found myself feeling more at home because it deals with the cultures of the world through Chester Beatty's collection. And when the director at the time in the mid-1990s, with the first Minister for Arts, Culture, Heritage, who's now President Michael D. Higgins, looked at where they could find the best place from Shrewsbury Road to relocate to the city centre, they did a whole rethink about how this incredible collection can be displayed at its best. And they found sacred was something that was prevalent right through the three parts of the collection. And the three parts of the collection are Islamic, East Asian, and European. This is the way Chester Beatty didn't deliberately go, I'm going to have a sacred traditions gallery, or I'm going to have an arts of the book gallery. This is down to the thinking, the creative thinking of our former director and the curators and the designers to make it more accessible for audiences, primarily with Irish audiences. We'll go back to the first slide. Because they're like the Irish education system, which thankfully is now catching up with the changing profile of our Irish population. For most Irish people, they wouldn't be familiar with Islamic culture and East Asian culture. And yet alone, even with Christian cultures as well, because Christian cultures are so diverse, as are Islamic and as are East Asian. So when you walk in, you get a taste of the various cultures represented through the collections when you walk around the Sacred Traditions Gallery. And I have to point out that Chester Beatty is not a religious organisation, but it tells the story of the collections through these themes. And the same with the arts of the book. The book is the one unifying metaphor for the collection, because you find books right across human cultures, right around the world. That's the one unifying thing, be it in a scroll, in a manuscript, in a book. So what do we do as an education department? I started there in January 2000, and by February the next month, I was expected to have a full-blown, fully grown education program. Now, it actually is 21 years old now, and 21 years later, this is pre-COVID, and maybe some of you have been to the Chester Beatty and participated in our programs, but these are kind of the nuts and bolts of public engagement when we're offering various activities for families, children, schools, adults, teenagers, and so on. Guided tours are always a popular offer for people who want to find out about the collections. Lectures like this one they're also very, very popular, and we try and look at the temporary exhibitions. What you saw there in the Sacred and the Arts of the Book are our permanent exhibitions, but at the moment we have a temporary exhibition of our Japanese Edo prints, which would coincide with the Tokyo Olympics. So this Friday we have an Egyptian papyrus expert talking about papyrus, because there's a symposium taking place this weekend. So that's very, very expertise. Now, something that I probably won't really fully understand myself because it's not my area, but we do look at the very, very specific and specialized to the more broad. Last week we had a talk about David Bowie and Japanese influence on his costumes during his career. Our children's and teens programs were really popular pre-COVID, as were art workshops for adults. So we're looking at the arts and crafts traditions as reflected in the collections. And some of our facilitators, like the two storytellers here, Heather Gray has studied in China, and Yvonne Furlong is from Taiwan, and she runs the Mandarin school out in, I think, South County Dublin. So we really try and engage with members of our local communities if and where possible to facilitate learning events in the Chester Beatty. We have art demonstrations, and I have a slide to illustrate that. We used to show films as well. We have the Dublin Arabic Film Festival pre-COVID in December. We have the Greek Film Festival in November, and we have the Japanese Film Festival in the springtime. So they were very, very popular, and we would work with the various embassies to create these events and family events. And this is just a family storytelling event. And we'd actually go off-site as well. And music performances were also very, very popular, which we managed with COVID-19 to facilitate a lot of these online. This is just an example of public engagement on site pre-COVID. And this is a Dutch-Chinese artist called Hui Shanmak. She is a very popular facilitator with our audiences, and she does beautiful ink painting. And this is what she used to do when pre-COVID times, when it was easy to engage on site, no masks. Hopefully we'll be able to bring her back on site again. She's demonstrating her work for the public, just to showcase just an aspect of our cultures as represented in the collections. 2020-21 has been a real learning curve for museums right across the world, and I suppose for all of you who have had to adapt and change your way of bringing your kids to school, going to work, going to the shops, even, you know, just getting out and about and engaging with people. The tours I mentioned, which used to be on site, and we actually just started them again from the 20th of September. We are now doing online tours as well as on site. Live talks like this one. So although I can't be in the same room as Sahra and Ailish, I'm able to engage with everybody here. Zoom has been a fantastic invention to be able to bring us into your rooms where you can see and hear and engage about what the Chester Beatty has on offer. We also have arts and crafts activities for children, teens and families online. They're available on our website. And we also do workshops for adults online. And community engagements. We've been a lot of talks about the collections for our local communities who felt very, very isolated. So what you see here in the slide is what we used to do on site, but we just had to turn it around and make it work for engaging with our audiences. And just to give you an idea, I know stats are something that our funding organisation, Department of Culture, really likes to see, is that we've had over 25,000 people attend our events online. You know, we would never be able to reach that on site because of our size. Our lecture theatre can only take up to 100 people comfortably pre-COVID. And as of August 2021, we've had 4,912. Now, I'm sure that is going to change dramatically as well. But again, I suppose it's just really the power of being able to change and adapt ourselves. And this is just a shot. That's my colleague here, Heidi Campbell, on that laptop. You can see her. She's engaging with children for a children's workshop. This was last year. I'm not too sure what they're making. I think they're making crowns or something. So we're trying to adapt and make it as accessible for everybody in our audiences. The schools program, because again, I mentioned earlier on, I could never really find myself in the Irish curriculum while being educated in Ireland growing up. But we recognise the changing profile of our children in schools, and we launched a new schools program that tries and really encourages children of culturally diverse backgrounds to make them feel far more welcome, because I suppose it's the nature of the collections, but also the nature of the museum is that we're engaging with our communities as represented in the collections, but also to give children a voice when they're exploring collections, not the guide who's going to tell children this is A, B, C, D, but to encourage children to learn and explore and express themselves when engaging with the collections. So we launched our schools program a week before COVID, a week before lockdown. And I'm sure a lot of you have homeschooled your children during those trying times. And I was going to say congratulations for getting through that period. I know children are back in school. But we now are developing new online programs for schools. So again, if you keep an eye on our website, you'll be able to see new online engagement for schools. And fingers crossed, we're beginning to get interest from schools to come back on site for guided tours. And this is after. I'm being hopeful here. What is going to happen after the pandemic? And I'm sure that's kind of the magic question on everyone's lips and everyone's mouth. We're going to continue engaging online, but also on site, because we've discovered there's a whole world out there that we can't always access when we're in the building on the ground. So we're going to make both worlds work, hopefully, between on site and online. We're also we're asking people to give us as much feedback as possible. And when we have live events, so we're gathering evaluations, we're trying to get as much information from people, and we're learning from our other organizations, the other museums, to find out how they're getting on. And we're also upskilling and training ourselves to see how best we can have one foot in the real world and one foot in the virtual world. And then combine blended learning with on-site learning. So to be able to, let's say, for example, you're a school group, that I'm able to give your teacher an activity sheet or some kind of activity that they can use in the classroom, but also engage with somebody online. And support staff transitioning to digital. This is something that's been a huge learning curve, I'm sure, for everybody. How do you use Zoom? How do you use an app? How do you download something from the internet? How? It's always the how, and this is what we're also trying to, we had to quickly upskill ourselves. And we have an amazing online image gallery, and that's something that we want to share with people. It's there, it's free, you can download the images from our collection. They're absolutely amazing. You can zoom in and zoom out. And we want to learn about the impact of COVID-19 on the learning and engagement program, so that we can improve and make it better. So that's an aspiration. Maybe if you meet me in 6 months' time, I might be saying something ever so slightly different, but hopefully it's all going in the right direction. So what you see on the screen here is we have Qigong for anyone who's feeling stressed. We're trying to look at well-being as a main element of our offer for people online, because Qigong was very, very popular on site in our roof garden. We've had to stop that, but hopefully it'll come back slowly but surely. On the upper right is a group of children who came from Northern Ireland for our Launch Our Schools programme. We're really trying to get that back up and running. We've had this incredible talk on the lower left. This is Hadi Maktabi. He's based in Lebanon. He's a carpet dealer. He gave a talk about carpets, because again, you'll find textiles in the collections, or the images is found through his collection of antique carpets. So a lovely crossover. He gave a fantastic talk live online, so that we're able to reach people who we can't fly over, or we can't reach, but we're able to engage them online. And to the right, we have a hands-on activity. This is a Japanese hair ornament, and an artist we worked with from San Francisco, a Japanese-American artist, Corinne Okada Takara, and she created a video for us, step by step, how to make an hair ornament that you can follow. And the lower right is a Turkish artist. I've forgotten her name, unfortunately, but they did an online live workshop for teens inspired by our collections. So we're really, really thinking about how we can reach people right across the sector in terms of themes, approaches, accessibility, and I suppose the content as well of what we have on offer. And that's it in a nutshell. And I'm hoping, I'm just thinking that's 22 minutes, but I actually forgot to put the website there, but it's chesterbeatty.ie. I'm going to stop sharing here. And what I'll do, is it okay to, there's no chat, but chesterbeatty.ie is the website. Well, there is a chat, I can put it in here. And oh, thank you. And if you have any questions or anything that you'd like to comment on, please, I'm very happy to answer if possible. Zahra, you're muted.
Thank you so much, Jenny. That was a lovely presentation. Okay, so well. Okay, Eilish.
Could I ask you, Jenny, you know, when you see the of the activities that you run, are there some that are particularly appealing to the let's say primary school children? What tends to be your most popular activities for primary school children?
Gosh, no, that's a good. Now, are you talking about pre-COVID? or during
Oh,
COVID.
sorry, I'm talking pre-COVID. I'm hoping
Pre-COVID.
we'll go back towards
Yeah.
something closer to that. Yeah.
The family drop-ins. So we had a drop-in activity at weekends where families were encouraged to come in and try a hands-on activity around arts and crafts. Now,
Yeah.
depending on the theme, like we've done finger puppets, we've done masks, so we've done a whole range of activities, and they were, this is pre-COVID, free of charge, so people could just drop in. So let's just say you've got 3 children with you, and and your child is hungry and you need to take it to the toilet. You can always go off and come back in, depending on who's filling up those spaces. So they used to run for around 2 hours. And then we would have silkworm family drop-in, which is very, very specific again. So you've got the family drop-in where it's outside in the atrium, and then the silkworm drop-in is where it was in the lecture theatre, where parents would go in, and it's quite specific in terms of numbers and themes, and there'd be kind of like half an hour activity for break, another half hour repeated again. The storytelling that I showed you for the very early years, very, very popular. So I don't know if you know of Mother Tongues. Mother Tongues is a bilingual language organisation based in Dublin. They have a festival in Tala in Rua Red, but they really, really look at the fact that Ireland has 182 languages spoken today. Very different from when I migrated here in the 70s. Yes. So they recognize that bilingualism is a common feature in a lot of migrant families. There's not just one language spoken, there's more than one. So we would have worked with them to do bilingual storytelling. That's the very first image I showed you, where the 2 facilitators with the book, they were doing Chinese storytelling. They were very, very popular. So they were really aimed at children of a primary school age. Okay. So we're going to slowly work our way back. It's just we're trying to figure out what we can do within health and safety parameters.
Yeah. No,
I'm sure. Yeah, I'm sure in a year's time it's all going to be very different. If you understand, if you get what I'm saying, because it's right now we're kind of stuck because of restrictions. But in the ideal world, we'd have no masks, we'd have more freedom of movement. But storytelling is something really, really popular.
Absolutely. And of course, you're in such a lovely setting there, because you've got a little garden, or well, quite a big garden right outside the library. So there's a place for children to run around, as well as being able to explore the outside of the castle, which is also sometimes used for exhibitions. And I saw images of the sand castles there earlier this year. So it's not just within the library itself. You can bring children to the area around it as well, which is also also lovely.
Yeah, the garden belongs to Dublin Castle. We would love to be able to say it's ours, but it's and it's a lovely, lovely space where there's a pattern of a snake. Yeah, and you see all the children following the shape of the snake when they're running and playing around. So it's a really lovely space, and they've got beautiful flowers and plants growing in that area. So it's really, really lovely.
It is. It's absolutely gorgeous, and it has the lovely well, I don't know, memorial is probably the wrong word, but commemoration of the Special Olympics in Ireland, with all of the names of everybody who volunteered in Special Olympics engraved. So there's lots of stuff to see. You can, if any families had someone who took part in Special Olympics, their name will be engraved there. So it's a very pleasant thing to go and look. My sister did some work with them, so I went up and found my sister's name on the list, which was lovely.
Okay. Just for example, I know you're talking about primary school. Let me see what's coming up now. This is for teens. So if any of you got teenagers, we've got open house this Saturday, the 16th of October. There's a live online workshop looking at clocks, because we've got a clock tower. It's an old 18th century building. I'm not too sure whether it's booked, but and they're free. And we have a live family workshop on the 16th of October at 2:30, looking at the arch at Stephen's Green to be inspired by architecture. And you'll work with an artist who's going to look at travel through time and space to draw the arch, and look at other architectural features from Edo, Japan. So you're going back in time to Edo, because Edo is our current exhibition. So that's happening on Saturday the 16th. And then the other things, I always have to remind myself, there's so much going on, but there are pre-recorded activities. So if you, let's say, a live event doesn't suit you, you can always look at pre-recorded. So I think we've got over 176 activities that were made in 2020 and 21.
Yeah.
So they're all on our website, on our YouTube.
Yeah.
So you can make a decorative frame made out of leaves and flowers and dried ornaments. So that's on the 26th of October. That goes live at 11. You can make a candle holder. Don't forget, we're going to have electricity cuts, I believe. So you might want to have your candle holder ready. That's on the 28th of October at 11. And if you like spooky Halloween stories, on the 31st of October at 11 a.m., there's an online activity for families, making a Halloween themed activity. So they're all there, they're all free. And the one thing that our education officer really was very aware of, that people may not always be able to get all these materials. So it's stuff that you can find at home, and just use those things that you have at home to make these wonderful creative activities.
Well, Jenny, thank you so much for that, and it's wonderful to know there's such a great archive of recordings on your website, as well as the stuff that's going on, because I think that's a wonderful resource for parents coming into the winter with longer evenings, and maybe children at home with coughs and sneezes and things. So thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us this evening. We've had a really fantastic series of 3 talks. We hope that people have been inspired by them and will be inspired by them in terms of working with children, encouraging children to get involved in a whole range of creative activities, both at home and in terms of places to visit, like our wonderful Chester Beatty Museum. So thank you all very much, and good night.
Thank you.